Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ramsey, and as usual we're offering you automation tidbits here with our core philosophy being system then automate. Our videos, cater to businesses and the different functions within your business that you can automate. But in between, I'll also be dropping some videos that cater to the more technical aspects of my favorite automation platform that you might be your favorite as well, and that's n8n. So today's video is going to cater to both seasoned automators and beginners. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the if node. Now, if you've used the if node before, if you're conversant with n8n and programming, then you probably have a very good idea what it's used for. In today's video, I'm going to take a slightly different angle at that to show you like a clearly outlined list of use cases and show you some demos with that. And if you're a beginner, then this is a really good chance to learn about the if node so you can also use it more in your workflows. Now, as you'll see, there are many types of decision-making nodes. I like to call them that, decision nodes in n8n, with the simplest one being the if node. We've got others like the switch node, we've got the text classifier, and so on and so forth. But today, we're going to start with the simple one. And then in future videos, we can look at the more complex ones, building on this kind of foundation. So what's the if node? It looks a little something like this. Basically, if you go to adding a node, you'll see it here. It's the green icon and it says if. And it says you can use it to route items to different branches. That is true or false. Now, I did an Excalibur for this to kind of like just illustrate that concept. But the idea behind the if node is very simple. Data comes in, the if node makes a decision, so it's a decision point, and then one branch runs one action and the other branch runs the other action. Now, one of the things you'll see is that the if node is binary. That means it can only choose between yeses and nos, zeros and ones, that kind of thing, right? So it does binary sorting. That's when you should use it. Whenever you are dealing with strictly binary sorting, the if node is an excellent choice. It's not the only choice, but more often than not, you'll find it's the best choice, okay? So like, let's say, for example, you're routing leads. Like you have a new lead that's just signed up and you want to check if their budget is over or under $5,000. If yes, then you send an alert to the senior sales team. If no, then you add them to your standard email nurture response to do whatever else you want with that lead information. Another one is checking the status of something before acting. So let's say you're trying to send an overdue payment reminder, so you want to check the status of an invoice. You have some kind of database that has invoices. Is it paid? Is it not? Is it the due date? Is it not? Is it more than X number of days after the due date or not? And so on and so forth, right? So you can also use it for simple triage, right? That is, you check if an incoming email subject contains urgent or invoice. It's just like a random example. If yes, you can forward it to a specific folder or send a Slack alert. And if no, you can do nothing. When should you ideally not use an if node? It's whenever you have non-binary sorting. Like let's say you've got more than one option. There's not just two options, right? So like you have something that can be routed to A, B, C, or D. In that case, a switch node might be better. Or a text classifier, both of which I'll speak about in a future video. So in those cases, you should use different nodes, but whenever you have binary sorting, more often than not, the if node is fine, unless you want to use the code node. But we're trying to be practical here. We're talking about the if node. Awesome. So to kind of like make you understand this concept, I have like two different demos. So the first one is very simple. It's a lead budget sorter. So let's say you have like some kind of form coming from an external source and it calls a webhook, and then that webhook gives you data. By the way, when you have a webhook in n8n, you can easily set mock data. In this case, if I just press this, the pencil icon, I can change the values here. So it's pretty cool, right? And that way you don't need an actual form to simulate this. But let's say we have like a form and what comes in is the name of the client, their email, and their budget. In this case, the name of the client is Big Client, email is test@test.com, and budget is 5,000. We already know that this is probably going to be about 5,000. It's going to be under our limit, right? So we can actually change this later depending on the kind of behavior we want, so you can see the if node in action. So you have that, and then now you just have a simple if node. All it does is it checks the budget of the lead. Is it greater than 5,000? And it just answers that yes or no question. As you can see, when I run it here, it goes direct to the false branch because it is not greater than 5,000. And if it's not, then in this case, I have a simple Google sheet that I did prepare. And you add it to an email nurturing list where you have name, email, and budget. That's all. We can actually see it run that way. If I execute this step, it should work. And if I go back to this Google sheet, you should see that we now have this. I'll actually turn that into bold. And you can add these. And maybe you can do some more stuff with this sheet, like start sending them email sequences, etc., etc. But what if the budget is greater than 5,000, right? In that case, we can edit this and say, okay, maybe the budget is 10,000 now. So we have that in and we save that, right? And then if we run the if node, very simple, you're going to get it going to the true branch. And in this case, it sends a notification to Slack. It says hot lead, and then the name of the lead just signed up with the budget amount in dollars, budget, right? And sends it to like your sales channel or something. If I execute this, then you can see it worked. And if I go to my Slack sales channel, you can see we're getting a message in there, right? Now, in the if node, you'll notice that standard version is you have this place, which is where you put in the value, and this. So the if node comes like this. So it has this, and you can either make it a fixed thing where it's just a fixed whatever value, or you can make it an expression where you can use code, right? So in this case, if I want to use code, since I'm checking for the budget, I'd pull it in. One thing that trips people up with the if node is what is the data type that's coming in. In this case, the budget is a number. As you can see, it doesn't have quotes around it. It's pretty much a number. And sometimes when you just drag values over, the node will intelligently figure out what you're looking for. In this case, it does say number, but usually it'll just like run string or something like that. But if I'm pulling in a number and I want to compare a number against another number, like in this case, the budget against some kind of standard, then I need to get to this second bit and select which data type I'm working with. In this case, it's a number. And maybe I want to see that it is greater than a certain value, 5,000. So the data type that you're working with in the if node is very important. Otherwise, if you choose the wrong data type to do the wrong kind of comparison, you're going to get an error. Probably a lot of you have worked with strings, and you can see the options for the string data type. Does it exist? Does it not exist? Is it empty, not empty, equal to, contains, starts with, etc., etc. And even regexes, which are like a whole thing. You could write a whole book about regexes. Let me know if you actually want us to look into regex, though that's not really an n8n topic, that's just a general programming topic. There's objects, like this thing right here. This is an object whenever it's within these curly braces, right? And the different things for objects as well, mostly checking if they exist or if they're empty. There's arrays. This object is wrapped within an array. An array is just a list of items. And an object is a key value kind of like mapping. So we have that. One of my favorites is date and time, which can really trip people up. And we're going to look at it in the next demo right after this one. And so on and so forth. So make sure your data type is correct and you understand what you're doing, right? And in this case, we have it sending the Slack message, and that's fine. So let's go for a slightly more complicated example, dealing with a different kind of data type and maybe more than one if node, so you can see what's going on. In this case, I have a sheet here that I call an invoice tracker. It has the name of the company, the email, the due date of their invoice, and the status. The status can be paid or unpaid. We have the due dates in date format, the emails, and so on, right? Well, you can have a workflow where you go into this sheet every day, you check that the status, whether the status is paid or unpaid, and whether the due date is now or was at least 3 days ago. That's the simple thing. Is the status paid? If so, then do nothing. If it's unpaid, check whether the due date is today. If yes, then send an invoice payment reminder. If it's not, check whether it's at least 3 days ago. If yes, send an invoice payment reminder. If no, do nothing, okay? So this allows you to keep track of your invoices. So how would you translate that into an automation workflow? Well, you could start with a schedule trigger. Very simple. You have days here, and we're doing the 1-day interval. It's triggering every day at midnight, though you could make it really anything. As you can see here, you have our choices. And the minute. And if you want, you can even choose a custom one where you use a cron thing. And we'll look at the scheduling trigger in a future video. And I'll show you how to do the cron timer. But basically, we have this, and the schedule gets run. And what it first does is it gets a list of all the invoices. As you can see here, I already ran it, and it's getting the invoices from the Google Sheets account. And it's checking, and it's getting everything, and the status of whether it's paid or unpaid, right? Then we have a loop. So the idea behind the loop is that it's going to go through each of these invoices at once. This is where things get interesting. So the loop has a batch size of 1, so it's doing 1 invoice at a time. And it goes through the loop branch. And when it goes through the loop branch, our first if node, and this is where things get interesting. So here, you were just checking one data point, right? One condition. With the if node in n8n, you can also nest conditions, right? So you can keep adding conditions as much as you want. And you can choose, for example, unfortunately, you can't nest in all sorts of arbitrary ways. You can only choose or and. So if you choose an and, all of the conditions have to be true. And if you choose an or, any of the conditions can be true or both of them can be true, okay? So if, let's say, you have some kind of condition and then there's another sub-condition within that condition and sub-conditions, you may have to chain if nodes together, or alternatively, you may have to use a code node. So the if node is really good for really simple situations where you have a small number of conditions and they don't have to have complex logic, set logic, is this an and here, an or there, or maybe somewhere else, anyway. So in this case, we're going to deal with a date, and we're going to have 2 conditions. So remember when we were looking at this, I said we would check first if the status is paid and if the due date is today. In this case, we have the status that we're pulling in. So we have basically the list of invoices coming in, and we're looping over. And we pull in the status from each invoice, and we check that it is not equal to paid, and this is where things get interesting. If you have a date usually coming from your database or from a Google Sheet, it's just going to be in the form of text. And fortunately, n8n has Luxon, which is a cool library for dealing with dates. So you'll just take that due date, which you can see inside here, and you're just going to do from format. You can see that the date format is month, day, year, year from here. The 10th month, 25th day, the year is 2025. And so, you can also have AI generate these for you. You can ask it to use Luxon. Or if you want, you can go to the n8n Luxon, n8n docs Luxon, right? And you'll see date and time with Luxon. And it will show you how to do that if you don't want AI to do everything for you. And Luxon itself, the library, also has a really great documentation here, which you can use. So I use that, and there's, you format it properly first, the date coming in as text, and then you can even convert it to a different format. So instead of month, day, year, year, it's year, month, day. I'll share the workflow JSON for these workflows, so you'll get to play around with this on your own. Then you check if it's equal to today. So you read the time now, and then you do the to format operator, and you do year, month, day. As you can see here, this one resolves to 2025, 5th November, and this one resolves to 2025, 8th November. So probably it's going to return true, while this one is also going to return true. And so once it does that, basically if it's true, right? If it's true, it means yes, the status is unpaid, and yes, the due date is today. In that case, you can send a payment reminder via email. Now, in this case, I'm just using my own email, but really, you're supposed to pull in this email in here, right? That's how you're supposed to do it, the client's email, and that's why you can see it here. Just a few, details. And I'm saying something very simple here. Payment is due is the subject, and hello, your invoice payment is due. So something that simple. And what if it's false? Which means either the status is not unpaid or the due date is not today. In that case, you look at the other scenario where the status is unpaid, but the due date was at least 3 days ago. Now this gets interesting. Again, date. So you can see here, for example, if I go to the previous if node, that when I was doing this comparison, I was checking string, because you're checking if it's equal to string. Though if I wanted, I could also use date and time. But I'll show you that in the next one. So I know that if I do this Luxon thing, it's going to resolve to a string, just like that, right? So I can use a string operator here. This one, the status is obviously a string. But what if I'm checking to see if the date, is before or after a certain date? Again, I check the status, it's not equal to paid, but what am I doing to the date? You can see I'm doing almost the same thing as the other one, where I'm formatting the due date coming in, but then I do a dot plus and add 3 days, and then format that. Again, Luxon stuff. So if you go to the Luxon documentation, you should be able to see that, right? So where's Luxon's documentation? And if you look at where it says math, you should be able to see the plus operator in action. And you can just understand that. Or again, you can ask AI to generate it for you. Just explain what you really need. So in this case, I check the date. Again, it does resolve to a string, but it's also possible to use the date and time format and say, is it before or equal to today? So I'm saying, if I were to add 3 days to the due date, whatever I would get, would it be before today or equal today? Actually, it should be after. Is it after or equal to today? So that's different. Like, is it past 3 days? So is it after or equal to? So I can just add that. And it's the exact same thing. If it's after or equal to and the status is unpaid, it's going to go down the true branch. So actually, if it goes down the true branch, then you send a payment reminder. Otherwise, you loop back. You can see at every point where I have an action done, I don't just leave it hanging. I connect it back to the start of the loop, right? So even here, sending the payment reminder right here, I don't know if I deleted this, but sending the payment reminder should be connected back to the start of the loop, like so. I don't know why it keeps doing that when your mouse starts acting up, like so. And again, I've included my own email so I could actually do this. At the end, it does nothing, but if I execute the step, you should see it like running, and it will complete in a bit. So if I just check the latest execution right here and copy that to the editor, you should see that it has run. So it sent 3 email reminders here, some email reminders here, 1 email reminder here, 3 email reminders here, and then it finished. And if I do check my email, sure enough, I should get 4 email reminders telling me that the payment is due. So this is what would have gone out to the client. And you can see, basically, this is a form of nesting. You check the first set of conditions, and then based on what happens, you check another set of conditions. You can keep nesting, but I think once you're past 2 if nodes in a row, you should probably consider having a code node instead, or something else, like a switch node or whatever. And then once it's done, it's done. So that's just an example to introduce to the if node. As you can see, it's really good for binary decisions. You can see that the data type matters. I've shown you how to work with the date time data type right here. And I've shown you how to combine conditions using practical examples. So let me know what you think about it. Next time we're going to look at the if node's bigger cousin, the switch node, and see where that's appropriate and how to use it with some practical examples. And then we go to the text classifier node, which is an AI node, where we have an even more intelligent decision point. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. This has been the if node. Let me know what you think in the comments and what other kind of content you might like to know. And if you want to work with me, I'm going to drop my contacts in the description, actually my website contact section, and let me know what I can help you with. Otherwise, until next time, bye-bye.